It's a little known fact that I fucking despise the Jurassic World trilogy. I've bitched and moaned about Colin's Hollywood cum stains for a total of 2.5 hours on this website, and I could easily add another hour or so to that calculation and still have more to say. But it's quite literally nobody forgets there's an entire other trilogy of movies that came before. A trilogy that's had a profound impact on pop culture, the landscape of Hollywood blockbusters as a whole, and especially autistic people. A trilogy that's generally well regarded, at least compared to their modern day counterparts. And holy shit, they're so much better than the World films. It's honestly such a weird feeling to watch a movie from the Jurassic franchise and not constantly scan my surroundings desperately looking for a way out of the mortal plane. Several times while I was rewatching the movies for this video, I found myself putting my notes down just because I was genuinely enjoying what I was perceiving. But that's not to say they're masterpieces by any means. This video is going to be structured a little bit differently to my other piss and shit fests, and by that I mean I won't do the usual meticulous deconstruction of every frame, ripping on everything that mildly pisses me off. Mostly because the movies aren't nearly as abhorrent as their modern molesters, and I subsequently don't have much to bitch about. But also, and you probably noticed this, I'm using the Lego games for footage, and the levels based around the original trilogy is short, and there aren't as many as there are for the first Jurassic World. So in the interest of maintaining interest and not repeating footage, I'll keep my rambling succinct. The only downside to this is some things I explain may not be fully supported by the visuals, meaning you may have to use your imagination at times. Sorry again to the people with aphantasia. I'll try and include a few second-long clips or screenshots every now and then to aid in this, but other than that, you're on your own. This clip may also be heavily altered with heinous green screen effects to avoid copyright issues, so forgive me for potentially spreading retinal cancer. The Danish plastic toy video game footage has the additional benefit of avoiding a violent prostate rankling by the big dogs over at Universal Studios, who probably have my exact measurements, hobbies, and location plastered on every conceivable surface, all because I dare to use footage of their movies in my videos. I get to escape their wrath for today. In this video, I'll only be covering the first Jurassic Park. I initially planned to talk about all three in one video, but I need to get in the habit of uploading more consistently. And that process involves me not making fucking hour-long videos on dinosaur movies. I've got an assignment due in like 2 days, and I haven't even started. I would usually say something about how I don't fucking care about the lore of these movies or some shit, and while that is definitely true, and I love when people type S's in my comments correcting me on some dumbass detail I don't give a fuck about, these are the original movies. There is no previous lore I'm missing. It's all right here. If something wasn't presented explicitly, ignoring the books of course, it's not fucking canon. Actually, fuck that. I shouldn't need to read some stupid book to understand the intricacies of a fucking dinosaur movie. Events happen differently in the book than they do in the movie, so they're different stories. Plus, these were made before directors could add bullshit details after the release date when they realized their film made no sense. But even still, here is your opportunity, if you feel so inclined, to whinge, call me a slur, or go on a maniacal tirade in my comments because my opinions on dinosaur movies made you grumpy. Wouldn't be the first time. Like, look at this shit. I genuinely tried to be nice and encouraging to this guy, and he just fully lost it. I think it's incredible that a video that only amounts to a fraction of this guy's life made him so mad he wished for mine to end. Also, message to this dude, if you're watching this, please go on another rampage onto this video. It was the funniest 5 minutes of my life reading all this shit. Although I don't think anyone will want to go on a calligraphy crusade this time, because I'm actually going to be nice to the movie. Yeah, I know. Where's the fucking fun in that, right? All right, that should be everything. Join me as we answer the pressing question on nobody's mind. Do I hate... No, I don't is the answer. Jurassic Park is a really good movie. It's got great characters, well-written, effective, and funny dialogue, and special effects that were nothing short of revolutionary for the time. It completely earns its status as a classic film that paved the way for blockbusters after it. I could honestly just end the fucking video right here. It's actually pretty hard to talk about. Like, with Dominion, for example, I can say the writing is stupid, the dinosaurs are wrong, I fucking hate the characters, the plot is dumb, nothing makes sense, it's all just fan service. Fuck, I've got a video well over an hour long about it, and I was being sparing in my critique. But I can't do that for Jurassic Park. It's just so solid as a standalone movie. I can't even rip on the lore because there isn't any. Everything is presented within the movie. The only real way to talk about the movie is to, well, talk about it. So I guess we'll start there. I believe it's important to... Fuck, bro. There's no way I just started a segment with I believe. This isn't a fucking essay. Background and context are important for understanding why a movie made over 30 years ago is still being talked about today. Jurassic Park is a 1993 film directed by Steven Spielberg and is based on the book of the same name written 3 years prior. It was undeniably revolutionary in its implementation of CGI, especially its interactions with real-life humans and objects. Something which was apparently super rarely seen at the time, especially to this quality. And yeah, watching it today, of course the effects don't look nearly as good as something like Avatar, but for 1993, they're still pretty fucking good. They look as good, if not better, than movies that came decades after it, namely the Star Wars prequels. Spielberg used animatronics wherever possible, only swapping to CGI if the dinosaur had to do complex movements like chasing a car or fighting other dinosaurs. They may not seem too complex for our modern brains, but we really didn't want another bite of 93 to happen due to some robot malfunction now, did we? The animatronics are pretty obviously animatronics, but just like the puppets in Star Wars, the fact that it's a real thing and you can tell it's real kind of make you forget that it's just a bunch of wires and fabric, and instead you just see it for what it's trying to be. I'm trying to say they're fucking good, okay? And they even do the thing where they put the effects at nighttime so the darkness just can cover imperfections in the CG model. I mean, they do have them during the day and they look like fucking shit, but that's pretty uncommon. Wish I could say the same for the later movies. Hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I can't even imagine how good they looked at the time too. Like, I'm not fucking ancient, so I wasn't alive when this movie came out, but a modern counterpart for comparing the development of digital technologies is the original How to Train Your Dragon movie. When that came out, everyone was talking about how beautiful the animation was, and I remember it being pretty good too. Now you see it and it looks fucking horrible. Good thing they remade it for no reason. Also, if you can't remember the original How to Train Your Dragon, you're way too young to be watching my videos. Even something like the Avengers looks dreadful in comparison to today. Like, I swear it didn't look this ass before. Now amplify that into the 90s with effects that still hold up relatively well today, and you can really start to understand why this movie was as impactful as it was. Anyway, before I got sidetracked talking about how many polygons the Marvel CG artists can use to animate Hulk's swinging zucchini, I briefly mentioned the original books the movies are based on. The books are written by some cunt named Michael Crichton, and these bundles of bound paper have become the fucking bane of my existence. So many comments about, well, in the books they explain this, or Michael Crichton actually said this in an interview, and Ian canonically shoves this in a raptor's bumhole. So fucking annoying. What's even worse is the people who comment this shit think it'll change my mind. Like, I didn't just list 200 other problems I had with the movie, as well as the lore being as smart as a mound of termites. All to excuse why the dinosaurs look or act differently to their real-life counterparts. And by act differently, I'm referring to the hyper-bloodlust nature of any and all carnivorous dinosaurs in the world films. And by look differently, I mean, well, that's not a fucking velociraptor. Crichton has actually gone on record to say he purposely fucked some things up for creative liberties, such as the velociraptors being based off Deinonychus, but it's a book in a fictional universe, so honestly, who cares? My issue comes when people see the movies, think the depictions are accurate, and then piss me off with their incorrect dinosaur facts. In this movie, everything presented is just meant to be accepted as part of the world. There's no underlying lore you're expected to know and study to fully understand everything. They explain it all right here. I'll get into this in more detail later. This is the context section, not the fucking science section. They also kind of ruin the rules they made in the second movie, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. Jurassic Park has also been credited for the revival of public fascination in dinosaurs. Essentially, it brought autistic dino nerds out of their hibernation and into my fucking comment sections 30 years later. Thanks for that, Steven. You fuck. Are all Jurassic movie directors doomed to be ridiculed by me? It also won fuck tons of awards, namely a few for sound and special effects. No surprises there. To conclude this flaccid penis of a segment, the first Jurassic Park movie was revolutionary in a way that my technology surrounded Gen Z childhood forbids me from comprehending. CGI being outstanding enough to reinvigorate prehistoric passion and neurodivergence in nerds is an achievement far out of reach for modern cinema, and perfectly explains why talentless executives chose to reboot this franchise for the sole purpose of making as much money as possible years after public interest had died off. So who the fuck is in this movie? We'll start off with the most main of main characters, Alan. He's a paleontologist, or a guy who digs up bones for a living, and he fucking hates children. The wiki lists him as one of the two main protagonists of the Jurassic Park franchise alongside Rexy. Yeah, the fucking dinosaur that tries to murder everyone several times over several movies. Ignoring that hemorrhoid of a wiki page, he really likes dinosaurs, and he really likes Ellie, but I guess doesn't have the confidence to start anything with her. He's kinda autism coded too. Very into a niche field, finds it hard to talk to and connect with people, wears a big ass hat, makes him more relatable, I guess. But it also wouldn't make sense for some motherfucker who willingly goes into the desert to dust bones to be some 6-foot tall jacked pussy slayer. I've met plenty of male scientists and I want to kill them all equally for their lack of personality. He somehow knows shit about dinosaur behavior, like how T-Rex vision is based on movement or the intricacies of how raptors hunt, despite having no real way of knowing this. It's all well and good to theorize, but he's absolutely right on everything. Guess the tism pays off sometimes. I wouldn't say he's a complex character by any means, just a smart guy who hates kids and loves dinosaurs, chasing some mid-ass bitch who so clearly wants his penis. Better than being a strong badass man archetype like Star-Lord. He also grows as a person over the movie. Like, at the start, he's criticized by Ellie for not liking kids. Then over the course of the movie, he develops a sweet relationship with Hammond's grandchildren, culminating in a small arc where he learns to appreciate and like children. Hang on, that sounds weird. Speaking of Ellie, she works with Alan on dig sites as a paleobotanist. Essentially the same shit as what Alan does, but with plants instead of animals. Sounds like a fucking drag. She's also not an archetype. She's basically the same as Alan and acts as a strong female lead without needing to scream the fact she has a pussy and tits directly down the barrel of the camera. She's smart, capable, likable, and provides meaningful impact to the plot. She's not stoic all the time either. She laughs at shit, cries over a dinosaur. It's great. She also wants to fuck Ian, so I guess that makes her the second character I can relate to. And that gives me a good segue to the sexiest of all the leads, and holy shit does he have some moves. Obviously can't show any extended examples because, I mean, I'm using mostly Lego footage, so you just gotta trust me. He does this shit with water on Ellie's hand, and she's deadass about to let him abuse all her orifices. Ian is kind of a likable scumbag. He actually says he's always on the lookout for another ex-wife. It's a type of mathematician called a chaotician, which even after he explained it, I still don't understand, but he basically knows when something's bad. Great explanation, I know. Ian doesn't really do much other than be the funniest character. Every line he says is gold. Also, his eccentric and weird personality is treated like it's eccentric and weird. The other characters make faces at him and each other when he talks. Better than acting like a fucking British clone girl is normal. Moving to some lesser characters, up first is John Hammond, the creator of Jurassic Park. He's a rich as fuck billionaire who acquired his fortune through some unknown means, and despite owning several islands in tropical areas, doesn't seem like the type to stick it in a kid. He wants all people to be able to experience the dinosaurs in his park, and genuinely believes that bringing them back to life was the right thing to do, comparing it to saving endangered species. He's not the villain, villain, but he's flawed and Scottish and kind of adorable. I feel bad for him when nobody supports the idea of his dinosaur zoo and he gets upset about it. Of course, though, after people start dying, he's like, fuck this place, I made a mistake. That's an arc, and more than you can say for Claire, who wanted to keep her park open with a mutant dino on the loose. It's also not really his fault everything went wrong. Like, maybe if Nedry hadn't shut down all the systems, his idea could have worked. Oh well. Hammond also has some grandkids, Tim and Lex. They're alright, I guess. Tim's an annoying fucking brat who I want to kick at the beginning, but after he gets severely traumatized, he becomes alright. Who says trauma doesn't build character? He's obsessed with Alan too, creating a funny dynamic where he constantly wants to talk to his hero while Alan wants nothing to do with him. His sister Lex is more or less the same, except I want to kick her less hard. She's briefly mentioned to be a hacker and helps reboot the system at the end. Not sure how that works given she's 12, but at least she has a point in the plot. And then everyone else is just dinosaur food, but notably Nedry is fucking hateable upon sight. From the first few words he spoke, I wanted him to get mauled, and sure enough he does. He's got some funny lines too, but he's mostly just an asshole. And I think that should be everyone that matters. Now we can move to the plot. The movie opens with a bunch of burly men staring at some rustling leaves. Some are armed with deadly weapons and others are just big dicking with nothing but fists. Because this is a dinosaur movie, you'd naturally assume the rustling is being caused by a gigantic fucking dinosaur. But it's actually a forklift carrying a cage with a dinosaur in it, so you'd only be half right. Why the forklift is coming through some fucking trees? I don't know. I guess the driver thought it'd be dramatic or something. And that it is, because the scene does a really good job at creating tension and suspense, and has like a double meaning, if that's what you want to call it, of the ancient beasts being dangerous even in captivity, which is basically the point of the whole movie. The men slide the cage into a small opening, just like how an NBA player splits his wife in half in the bedroom, and I guess they didn't lock it in place because somehow the raptor manages to dislodge the entire fucking thing, creating a gap, and then pulls a random dude inside and refuses to let go. Despite the presence of a gap, the raptor doesn't try to escape, instead opting to just continue the relentless mauling. Also, for some reason, it doesn't attack anyone else, despite several people getting in that gap that I mentioned. We get the iconic shoot her line before a genuinely terrible fade to some muddy brown water, and that's that scene over with. How did they manage to get the raptor in the enclosure? That's what they were trying to do after all. Did they just let the guy be eaten and then continue? That'd be a pretty awkward phone call to the family. Why didn't they just tranquilize it? Oh, whatever. The muddy water introduces us to the lawyer character as he wears a suit to visit a fucking mine in the middle of the Dominican Republic. What kind of dickhead wears a suit here? Well-written dialogue by the characters convey that John Hammond is kinda irresponsible. He shrugs off the worker accent from the scene before and can't even be bothered to see his lawyer because of personal matters. That's some great characterization, and we haven't even met the guy yet. They briefly mentioned getting experts to sign off on the park, and a Spanish dude holds up a rock with a mosquito in it, which is where they get the dino DNA from. In modern movies, this is where a title card would play, and I fully expected one even on my second watching, but instead we cut to bone brushing and are introduced to Alan and Ellie. They use a weird machine to scan for bones and reveal a raptor skeleton that's 6 feet tall. This fucking pissed me off when I saw it. Not because the raptor is inaccurate. I've already said that I don't care because that's just how velociraptors are in this universe, but because of all the fuckers in my comment sections that get pissy at me for criticizing the dinosaur depictions. This raptor wasn't genetically modified. It was found in the ground. It's pure. And then people say that genetic modification and splicing made them look different from their real life counterparts. If this is the first video of mine you're watching, you're probably confused as to why I'm so mad over a fucking fossil. And to really understand it, you'll have to watch my Jurassic World videos where I go extra in depth. But just know that a significant portion of my hatred for this franchise comes from avid fans defending the dinosaur depictions by saying the genetic modification drastically altered their appearances and behavior. Because in reality, the appearances are different because the people behind these projects thought it'd be more interesting for audiences to look at. Or as I call it, for spectacle. This fossil right here is proof the genetic excuses are total bullshit. At least for the raptors. Anyway, I mentioned in my Dominion video that I wasn't sure if Alan and Ellie were ever hinted to be a thing or have any chemistry. I am now sure they are violently horny for each other. He's practically about to bend her over and make the skeletons watch. I will say, it's nice the actors actually have some chemistry though. They're not two pieces of moldy cardboard masquerading as humans whose only similar traits are being conventionally attractive. You get the feeling these two have known each other for years and both like each other but aren't sure about actually committing to a relationship. Plus, Alan says he hates kids and Ellie clearly doesn't. It kind of feels like she's testing the waters for what a relationship with Alan would be like. And that's only through a couple of lines. The dialogue in this movie really is top tier. Alan also decides to traumatize a random child who doubts that the raptors would even be that scary, talking about how they'd rip his fucking stomach open with their claws and emote on him as he bleeds out. Why are kids even here? Are they on a school field trip? I don't think it's ever explained. Alan also describes exactly how the shoot her guy from before gets jumped later in the movie. Alan's ritual of terrifying children and flirting with Ellie is unfortunately interrupted by a random fucking helicopter, out of which John Hammond is shut out. Alan and Ellie are both initially rude to him because he almost ruined their dig before they realize who he is. He offers them champagne, which they decline because they're boring, and invites them to come and inspect his park, stating he needs their expertise. At this point, the characters don't know what the park even is, only that Hammond will fund their dig for the next 3 years as compensation for their time. They of course accept this without much pushback. This is great, an actual fucking reason for them to be in the movie and go to the park. After this is a brief scene where we meet Nedry and Dodgson. If you remember, Dodgson is the villain in Dominion. Despite the actors being different, nobody giving a shit about the character anyway, so nobody cared, and it making no sense. He went from this shady underground dude to the head of a gigantic research organization. At that point, just make him a different character. I got a few comments saying the actors changed because this dude likes them on the younger side, which makes me even more confused as to why they brought his character back. But this isn't Dominion, so I'll shut the fuck up. See, I told you at the start I could easily add another hour of ramblings. Nedry flexes how despisable he is, and was shown a device he'll use to steal samples of the dinosaur's DNA or something. I wasn't listening, because I was just thinking of all the ways I wanted to injure him. him. The next scene opens with all the characters in a helicopter, joined by Ian Malcolm, who instantly starts flirting with Ellie and just generally being a bit of a personality. After a funny bit involving a seatbelt, the cast land and start driving to their destination. After this is arguably one of the most iconic scenes in all of cinema, the Welcome to Jurassic Park scene. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now. Do I want to say fucking scene again? It's here where the context of the movie gains some importance. This was the first time dinosaurs have been recreated in such detail on screen before, so the characters' reactions mimic something similar to that of the audience at the time. Complete amazement. Compare that to the modern day Comstains where they just jizz out a special effect within the first 2 minutes so the audience doesn't get bored and start downloading CP in the cinema. Hammond also excitedly mentions that he has a T-Rex, and I don't know if it's something about the delivery or what, but even I got a little hyped. He's pumped up, Ellie and Alan are completely speechless, like Alan collapses for fuck's sake. I don't know, man, this movie's good. What can I even say? I can't imagine how hyped this would have been in the 90s. Also, everyone knows how crazy good the score is by now. Throughout the whole fucking movie, it's good. Fuck, bro, I miss when people actually put effort into making movies. Ellie holds a leaf from a plant that was around in dinosaur times. How did Hammond bring back a fucking plant? Did the mosquitoes suck plant blood? A bit later, Hammond takes him through his ride that shows how they did everything from taking the DNA from mosquitoes preserved in amber and using the frog DNA to fill in the gaps, to inseminating this into unfertilized ostrich eggs. The cast is so fascinated by this, they break out of the lock mechanism to go into the lab. Not sure if that's allowed, but at least they got to witness the birth of a raptor. We also get the detail that all the dinosaurs are female to prevent uncontrolled breeding attempts. This is later shown to have failed miserably, and it's implied the frog DNA did something or something. I don't fucking know. I'm not that good with biology. Yeah, nice fucking engine, cunt. Suck your mother. Ian goes on a speech about how dinosaurs will destroy the world. It's a bit dramatic for my liking, but it's interesting that the movie explores the moral and ethical complications of reviving dinosaurs. It continues to do this a bit deeper later, so I'll talk about it more then. He's honestly a bit over the top here. Like, I'd be more worried about the plants, personally. Wind could carry fertilized plant cells to other islands or places, then you could really have an issue. But a bunch of land-dwelling dinosaurs on an island aren't that much of a problem. He also criticizes Hammond for essentially stealing other people's ideas. He didn't come up with the methodology of extracting DNA from mosquitoes, he just had the money to undertake the process. This is where the scientists were so preoccupied with whether they didn't stop to think about if they should line comes from. But yeah, as I said, it's a little dramatic in a global context. Maybe he knew the next movies were gonna suck. Alan gets horny when asked about breeding raptors, and we cut to a cow getting viciously mutilated. For some reason, Hammond is hyping up his chef during this. I guess he doesn't want his guests to think the raptors are at all dangerous, but they're in a pit surrounded by massive walls. Also, you can barely see them thanks to all the bushes and shit. Good for special effects budget, but terrible for an audience's viewing pleasure. Also, what's so wrong with zoo animals being dangerous? You don't see people complaining that lions can instantly murder you. Also, this enclosure is in the middle of fucking nowhere, and seemingly not connected to anywhere else in the park. How close are they to opening this place? Backtracking a little bit, I actually like that they hide the raptors here. It creates tension and build up to their eventual reveal, making it more impactful. The Alien movies are the best example of this done well, and another movie called The Ritual also does this. Go watch that if you haven't already seen it. I got so fucking hyperfixated on it. They meet the shoot her dude from earlier, who says the raptors should all be destroyed in front of Hammond, which is a bit odd. He works for them, doesn't he? If a surgeon said they wanted to light all their patients on fire, I don't think they'd be employed for much longer. Shoot her is also said to be an expert on raptors, knowing everything about them, which is obviously untrue because he gets completely shit on later in the movie, exactly in the way that Alan describes, meaning Alan knows more about them, and Shoot Her is comparatively smooth-brained and posted RIP Charlie Kirk on his Instagram story. He asks about how smart they are, continuing the good build-up, and they all finally accept Hammond's dinner offer, where they basically just talk about merchandising and ticket costs before Ian calls them all cunts while slamming a semi-erect 5-incher on the table. Unfortunately, that's not actually what happens, so he just says more shit about how it's a bad idea. Still got no idea how his chaos maths or whatever the fuck he does relates to this. What I really like is how it explores Hammond's mindset. He justifies his choice to bring the dinosaurs back by comparing them to endangered species, in this case a condor, saying that nobody would complain if he bred a bunch of those on his island. There are of course many holes in his argument, but his conviction and genuine belief that what he's doing is right makes his character all the better. Flawed characters are generally better characters. Generally. It also goes without saying, the acting is fucking amazing too. I feel really bad for him here because nobody supports his park. He seems genuinely really hurt and upset by it. I mean, he later agrees when everything goes to shit, but for now it's sad. But what the fuck is he gonna do? Just murder all the dinosaurs? What a waste of money. But before he gives up trying to convince them, he insists they go on a Jeep-sponsored tour of the park alongside the target audience as stated by Hammond, that being his grandchildren Lex and Tim. They look to be around 12 or something. I'm not sure exactly, but for reference, Tim's young enough for his Lego character to have short legs. So there's that. Tim's obsessed with Alan, and it's actually fucking hilarious, following him around while Alan desperately tries to create distance. Not only is it funny, but it serves a plot purpose too, giving reason why no adults are in the car with the kids, which becomes important later. It also sets up Alan's eventual arc with child hating. Ellie also teases Alan by telling Lex to try get in the same car with him too. Great character moments, great humor, and it's all done in one take, so great camera work too. Take notes, you pathetic fuck. It's revealed Hammond has audio and visuals inside the cars, and the tour begins. Then, as if to directly piss me off, the first enclosure is the Dilophosaurus, where the tour guide vehicle spouts incorrect bullshit, saying that fossil evidence shows they were poisonous, being able to shoot venom. Several things. First, that's not how poison works. Put simply, poison is when you bite something and die, and venom is when something bites you and you die. Doesn't necessarily have to be a bite, could be, oh, I don't know, spit. The Dilophosaurus is venomous. And I'm not hearing arguments about it technically being poison because it's not injected via a bite or sting. The spitting cobra spits venom, and the Dilophosaurus spits venom too. But if they're saying it's poison, why would they then say it spits venom? Stupid Hammond. But ignoring that, the fossil evidence bullshit is further proof that the dinosaurs just look that way because of the different universe, not because of genetic modification. So that's another fuck you to all of Colin's cockriders. But I'm taking this at face value, so I guess in this universe, similar but not quite adjacent to our own, the Dilophosaurus spits poison at people, and also the distinction between venom and poison doesn't exist. They end up not seeing shit, and they move to the T-Rex. They end up not seeing shit again, but not before they see a chained up goat that serves to set up a reveal for later on. It's meant to lure the T-Rex to the fence, but nothing even happens. During this incredible disappointment streak, Fat Fuck rage baits everyone in the office and continues to make himself detestable in every way, establishing that he and Hammond don't have the best of relationships. I initially wondered why Hammond doesn't just fire him, but I'm pretty sure they explained that Nedry's super knowledgeable about this specific system and program, so it's not super easy to find some other cunt. Also some shit about NDAs or something. Back in the cars, Alan explains how the chained goat is ultimately a bad idea for feeding the T-Rex. It'll be desperate to hunt any chance it gets. I love this. The insane bloodlust of the dinosaurs in this franchise has always been something that's bothered me personally. So many dinosaurs in the future entries in the franchise risk their lives for the smallest morsel of food. Like, I get that the movie's gotta happen and be entertaining, but I'm an animal nerd. I can't help but think about this shit. If you've ever been to an aquarium, you've probably seen the sharks swimming around fish without hunting them non-stop. This is because the sharks are fed and aren't always hunting everything. I guess you could say they get full. So the explanation that they're fulfilling their natural instinct is great, because it not only explains why they attack everything they see, but also why they put so much effort into it. Like chasing down speeding cars, for example. Jurassic World also did this by saying the Indominus was hunting for sport, and I praised it for that too. At least I think I did. The dinosaurs are so boring that Ian basically starts hollowing Ellie out right there in the car, before they're interrupted by a sick Triceratops in a field. Not sick as in cool, by the way. Sick as in a say your goodbyes to grandma type of way. It's fully animatronic and it looks great. No complaints here. This is basically a perfect scene. Ellie digs through a pile of Jurassic World to figure out what's wrong with it before electing to stay behind while the others continue the tour. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said Ellie's a good female character. She shows how smart she is by investigating and deducing the problem, all while never belittling anyone with a skin rope between their legs, unlike most horribly written women leads today. It's also impressive that she's smart while being surrounded by smart characters. Too often, characters are made to seem smart just because everyone around them have IQs approaching negative values, when in reality, they're average intelligence at the very best. This isn't the case here. This is intercut with Hammond being warned about an approaching storm, due to which he's advised to cut the tour short and begin again tomorrow for safety reasons, which he does without question. He's not stupid enough to endanger his visitors. Who the fuck would do that, I wonder? We also see Nedry planning to create a tactical power outage, which he takes advantage of to steal DNA samples without being seen by the cameras. During this scene, there's a few dinosaur names to be read that aren't in the movies at all. Namely Metrocanthosaurus, which is like a shitty giga. I looked it up and there's a whole fucking wiki article saying the genome was 71% complete before Nedry fucked it up. How the fuck do you know this? This info isn't anywhere in the movies or even Camp Cretaceous as far as my research shows. Yeah, I read the whole fucking article and followed some hyperlinks. It's not in any show or movie, yet it's got its whole life history on this webpage. This led me to believe that it was in the books, which, as we've discussed, aren't canon, so can be ignored. Plus, this dinosaur is said to have been in Jurassic World 1 and 2, which aren't based off books. And even then, it's not even seen in those movies, apparently just hunting in the forest somewhere off screen. So this is all completely made up, basically, but I'm the dumb one for not knowing the lore. This is genuinely on par with those background Star Wars characters having entire wiki pages whilst only having half a frame of screen time and being so far in the distance they only take up 3 pixels on the highest end TV screens. Except for the Star Wars characters, there's at least accompanying comics that could explain something. Fuck's sake, I got sent into a blind rage by 17 letters on a screen in what's otherwise a 9 out of 10 movie. Oh shit, I spoiled the rating. I think I need some serious therapy. This franchise has a greater hold on my psyche than I initially thought. But anyway, Nedry steals the dinosperm and puts it in the stash can they set up before. I don't know why they spent so much time setting it up and bringing attention to it, because it just gets buried in mud and lost like 20 minutes from now. Back in the car, Ian asks for Alan's blessing to perform penis acrobatics on Ellie's unsuspecting snatch, to which Alan denies, implying he and Ellie are a thing or something. But like, are they? They never really do anything explicitly couple-like. Like, sure, they flirt and shit, but they're not dating. I guess Alan is saying this to get Ian to flirt with him instead. That's what I'd do. Their erotic conversation is interrupted by their car stopping from the power outage. In fact, the power outage causes all kinds of bullshit, such as disabling the electric fences around the park. They also establish that the phones are out, which may seem trivial to mention, but not being able to send for help is a major reason why everything plays out the way it does. Of course, in the modern era where Pornhub is merely a few clicks away in 99% of civilized areas, this is a foreign concept. Conveniently, the tour cars lose power right at the front of the T-Rex enclosure, which wasn't apparent during the the flirting conversation shots before, but whatever. The kids fuck around at the car and make the lawyer dude consider killing all 3 of them right then and there. If I were these guys, I'd be kind of concerned about the gigantic fucking beast lurking close by with no electric fence to deter it, but they seem just fine, honestly. To be fair, sitting in the dry cars is a smarter move than walking in the dark and rain on Dinosaur Island. They also establish they're all fucking shitting themselves, so I guess it's nice to know our characters have a wide range of emotions and reacts like real people. Tim fucks around with night vision goggles before getting distracted by water ripples caused by the T-Rex's footsteps. Another iconic shot, yeah, but this is actually called back to several times, both later in this movie and the others, and I fucking love it. Instead of a character saying, "Holy shit, we're about to be devoured," this simple visual conveys the exact same message while also effectively building suspense. Again, no problems with this whatsoever. It's also good because, of course, something as big as the T-Rex would move loudly, unlike in the later movies where massive dinosaurs appear out of fucking nowhere completely silently. It's then revealed the goat has disappeared and part of it lands on the roof, clearly conveying to the audience that some fucked shit is about to go down. And that it does, but not before the lawyer runs to the bathroom where he will later be murdered, causing the T-Rex to chase him, breaking the fence in the process, and escaping its enclosure. Alan establishes that its vision is based on movement, which isn't true, but like I said, we're treating this as its own universe now, so I'll leave it. And the kids, panicked by the lawyer's disappearance, frantically search for... I actually don't know. I think they were looking for a way to get Alan's attention. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is they find a flashlight and then almost lose their lives. People like to point out that the kids resist the strength of a T-Rex, which is stupid, don't get me wrong, but I want to know how they don't get deafened by it screaming right in their faces. Also, I haven't mentioned it yet, but the T-Rex is mostly animatronic here, and like all the other Dinobots, it looks really good. Still obviously a robot, but it being a real thing adds a lot. It's only CGI when it's moving, and since it's dark, the effects are actually decent looking. I spoke about this before, and I was mainly referring to this scene in my praises. So just know, Big Dino looked big good on big screen, and Animal Man likey. Anyway, it flips the fucking car and starts ripping it apart from the underside, even beginning to crush it with its own weight. This is straight horrifying, and the lack of music not only highlights the crazy good sound design, which is something that goes super unnoticed in film a lot of the time despite its difficulty to pull off, but also serves to further the tension of the scene. Plus, Tim and Lex's actors are doing a good job screaming like, well, a kid about to be brutally murdered. This leads Alan to distract it with a flare, unknowingly creating another iconic trope in this franchise that'll be done to death eventually. Ian, not wanting to be upstaged by the man he's trying to cuck, grabs his own flare and runs with it, luring the dinosaur away. This leads to him getting body slammed into the toilet block and the lawyer getting what all lawyers deserve. Death. A lot happens in the next few seconds, and talking about it in sentence structure is annoying to write, so I'll be a lazy fuck and give it in dot points. Alan rescues Lex from car, Tim's stuck. T-Rex comes back, and T-Rex is hungry. Tension with dinosaur, car gets thrown off a fucking cliff, and Alan hangs from a wire and almost dies. It's all really well done, as most other things are in this movie. It's just non-stop fire, and we've still got more vulnerable child action to come. But it leads to Alan saving Tim from the car that is now stuck high in a fucking tree. There's a little suspense here too, with Tim not responding to Alan's calls for him, making the audience wonder if he even survived the ordeal. And it'd be fair to assume he didn't, but he actually did, and his lack of response is due to being severely traumatized to the point he threw up all over himself. I like this too. This is exactly how a kid would react in this situation, not by keeping a level head and suggesting to incite dinosaur violence like Grey would. I also forgot to mention that it's nice the T-Rex is an antagonistic force in this movie. Like I said before that it's apparently a protagonist according to the wiki, and yeah, the movies definitely treat it like that, because it saves our main character's asses 3 times in a row. Oh my god, I just realized that. First it's with the Indo fight, next it's with the Carnotaurus, and finally it fights the Giga. So it's a nice refresher to see it be a genuine threat to every character here, especially considering this is supposed to be the same Rex throughout all the movies. After some genuinely funny dialogue, the car starts breaking through the branches and falling slowly, causing Alan and Tim to need to fucking move. Another common nitpick here is people asking why they didn't just climb to the sides of the tree, and it's because there aren't any branches there. But even if they were, it's like, is the movie not good enough to just ignore these problems? Of course they survive, and the scene ends. We get some short scenes that establish some key points moving forward in the plot, namely that the raptors are probably free, Ellie and Shoot Her team up to find the others, and I guess you could say most importantly, nobody knows how to fix the park's power from the computer except Nedry. This is hilariously followed by his death via Dilophosaurus, which is another in a long line of scenes in this movie I have no issues with. I particularly like this line.
No wonder you're extinct. I'm gonna run you over when I come back down.
Makes me laugh every time. The delivery is just perfect. Other things I like are, of course, the animatronic, and yeah, the tension. I'm really repeating myself a lot here, but I gotta mention the good parts, otherwise it'll just seem like I'm hating everything, especially since I'm not talking about absolutely everything, because otherwise we'd be here all day. Also, I just realized how expertly constructed and set up this scene is in the context of the movie. Bear with me for a second. So, audiences in 1993 didn't know what Dilophosaurus looked like. Sure, there were probably some dinosaur nerds that knew, but the intended perspective of the audience is one of relative ignorance. The only information they're able to know about it is that they're predators, have frills, and spit venom. Nothing else. This information was delivered in the tours earlier and was most likely forgotten by most people upon initial viewing. This all culminates in this scene, where the Dilophosaurus seems somewhat playful and curious at first, peeking around trees and making a soft hooting and chirping noises. The intended audience would probably assume the dinosaur is relatively harmless, but then gets suspicious as it starts to follow and stalk Nedry. There's also camera angles positioned behind bushes from far away, giving the impression he's being watched and thus further adding to the tension. The suspense peaks when the dino demonstrates its frill and venom ejaculating abilities, revealing its identity as the predatory Dilophosaurus. For those that weren't paying attention attention to the throwaway lines earlier, the scene still has its intended effect, but for the few that remembered, it hits just that much harder. Obviously, most people watching now know what the scene is and what the dinosaur is, but it's a cool time period specific detail nonetheless. TLDR, the movie's well thought out, and well thought out movies are often well regarded. And yeah, this results in Nedry's brutal death. The only issue I have is that of how the Dilophosaurus got in the car. The passenger door was closed, I'm pretty sure, unless it suddenly developed opposable thumbs. Oh well. Back with some living characters, Ellie and Shoot Her find what's left of the lawyer dude, and despite their previous displays of intelligence and awareness, start screaming loudly on Dinosaur Island. Luckily, Ian's sexual moans attract them to his rotting corpse, and they're able to set up another iconic action scene, but not before some reincorporation of the water cup ripples from before. This scene, like all the other action scenes, is fucking fantastic and super entertaining to watch. Again, the explanation of the dinosaurs having that unsatisfied desire to hunt really helps to explain why I put so much effort into attempted murder here. What else can I say about these scenes that doesn't involve me repeating myself 1,000 times? The CGI is good, the score and shot composition is well thought out, the scene actually makes me feel something other than unrelenting contempt, which is extremely rare for me. It's good. Moving on, the commotion is heard by Alan and the kids, which prompts them to climb a tree and have a cuddle pile. Then in the morning, Lex gets a bunch of bodily fluid sprayed all over her. It's less weird than it sounds, I promise. Nah, but seriously, this is a nice scene that develops the characters and their relationships, all while occurring naturally in the story, and even tying in with another dinosaur scene. It's also here they establish that Lex is a hacker of sorts, and that the raptors are breeding somehow. Alan thinks the amphibian DNA has something to do with a bunch of females being able to breed, and we're going to ignore how little sense that makes because it doesn't really matter in the context of the story. Scenes that serve multiple purposes, those being conveying information to audiences and developing characters, are hard to pull off, but this movie does it consistently. See, show this to Colin and he'll complain there's not enough action or CGI dino dicks swinging across the screen, hypnotizing the audience into commenting racial slurs in my comment sections. Anywho, speaking of character development, there's another scene of it, this time involving Hammond. There's no Lego footage of it, but he basically explains his past and shit. It's not too interesting, but it does a good job to further humanize him and reinforce that all he wanted to do was show people something they'd never seen before. It wasn't all about the money, as he makes clear several times. The only thing I'll say is Ellie reaches all the way over this table to get some cake. How long are this bitch's arms? In the next scene, this scene has us... enough real footage, I'm getting distracted. Oh, this scene is about how the dinosaurs can't produce lysine, which is an amino acid crucial for creating proteins necessary for survival. And without the park's intervention, the dinosaurs will die within a week. Everybody knows they don't because there's 85 more movies after this one, and this point actually leads to some bullshit in the second movie, but that's for later. Lysine is essential for continued existence. My problem isn't that. My problem is that it actually isn't produced naturally by most animals, including birds, which dinosaurs are the most closely related to, as it's instead derived from diet. So like, what the fuck? I don't know if the writers made a mistake, or this is just another blunder on Hammond's part, where he thought shutting off lysine production would act as a population control of sorts. I'll either blame this on outdated 90s knowledge or Hammond just making another fuck up. Either way, I don't really care because I'm so entertained and only really noticed this issue after a bunch of research and while on my third watch for the video. Regardless of whoever fucked up, they shut down the system to do something. Now they're gonna manually restart the power using the breaker system. Moving on, we have another scene of Alan and the kiddies, and they're fucking running for their lives from a bunch of chicken mimics, or just Gallimimus if you don't speak Latin. They hide behind a log for cover, and this pisses me off, but not for a reason that you might think. It's violently irrational, actually. It means that this is another thing the World trilogy... fuck, I guess it's not even a trilogy anymore. Well, Fallen Kingdom stole this idea from this movie. It seriously can't do anything original, can it? For fuck's sake. They both even have the T-Rex rock up. But of course, in this movie's increased quality, it's not suddenly a protagonist. It's still an immense danger to the characters, because... you know, it's a fucking wild animal that eats people. I wonder if it shut out the lawyer already. Would his suit have been digested or coughed up like a fucking owl? The CG during the day doesn't look nearly as good as the night scenes, but again, for the 90s, it's pretty decent. I think. A little while later, Ellie and Shoot Her go to restart the breakers. Apparently, Nick Fury was taking his sweet time getting mauled to death. They see that the raptors have broken free and immediately do the smart thing and walk directly into thick bush. Ellie runs away and Shoot Her becomes Clever Girl as he excellently gets juked by the exact trick Alan traumatized a small child with at the beginning of the movie. This results in the termination of his life and his screams are fucked. Sounds like they actually had to get him ripped to pieces by rabid animals, which could also explain why his acting career didn't take off after this. Like seriously, he's in nothing. Speaking of traumatizing kids, Alan pretends to get electrocuted on a giant electric fence and scares the fuck out of Tim and Lex. I suppose this is not an excuse to scar the minds of impressionable children. Describing this next bit doesn't do it justice whatsoever, but it's a very tense scene that cuts between Alan and the kids climbing the fence and Ellie restarting the electrical system. The tension comes where Tim is still on the fence and Ellie's about to turn him into human bacon, which she does, prompting Tim to die and Alan to start passionately kissing him until he wakes up. But that's not the only issue, because Ellie finds what's left of the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and gets chased by the raptors through tight corridors. Great build-up leading to suspenseful payoff in both scenarios, and as I've said before, the acting and score is amazing. The inevitable build-up to Tim being electrocuted and the tension in if he'll wake up, and on Ellie's side, the breakers turning on attracts every raptor on the island to her exact coordinates, resulting in a chase. This movie's so good, it almost makes me sad because I know the next ones aren't the same quality. But then it just cuts and they're in the visitor center eating. Like, how the fuck did they get here? Maybe it wasn't even that far, I don't know. But before they can relax, we have another iconic moment, the kitchen scene. Once more, what else can I say? Pretty much a perfect scene. I especially like the necessity to sneak around and be quiet, combined with the naturally loud environment full of shit like pots and pans. Also, the raptor's legs look stupid as fuck here. I don't care if it's because it's a costume, it looks fucking dumb. dumb. Finally, the whole cast reunites in the computer room. A raptor tries to eat them all, Lex hacks something to activate the door locks, and Tim does nothing to help grab a gun, despite being 100% free to do so. I like that Lex was established to have this computer ability earlier. Even if it makes no sense that a child can hack a professional software, it's not like it came from nowhere. For some reason, the door lock activation gives Alan and Ellie the strength to finally close the door fully, which I guess they didn't have before, and they use the newly activated electricity to call in a helicopter. There's more bullshit involving raptors and skeletons, but it's just more quality action leading to yet another iconic shot, so we'll keep moving. Hammond realizes his park was a mistake and they fly off into the sunset. Plus, Alan gets pussy points from Ellie for having the kids like him. Next up is... oh wait, the movie ends here. Nice. There's no dumbass court scenes about shit that doesn't matter. That's for the next movie. I was gonna have a whole segment on the dinosaur depictions, but I kinda already covered them. Other than the super wrong ones like the raptors and Dilophosaurus, there's not too much of note here, especially given I'm considering these movies to be a parallel universe. The later films don't get this consideration because they suck dick, but mostly because they insist the science is accurate, but also at the same time, you're not supposed to think the dinosaurs should be accurate because of DNA bullshit. Pick a fucking lane, Colin. I spoiled my rating for this movie before, but if you have Alzheimer's, I'll remind you that I gave it a 9 out of 10. So why is this a 9 out of 10 and not a 10? Well, I've only ever given 3 movies a straight 10, meaning I couldn't find any flaws at all, and this isn't as good as those. If you're interested, the movies are 3 Billboards, Truman Show, and Love on a Leash.
Oh, she's the one.
This is real.
It's Prince. Prince, your dog.
I don't know how to continue from here in a natural way, so I'll just hard cut to the conclusion.
My name is Alvin Fwang.
Overall, this movie really surprised me. It was somehow better than I was expecting it to be, and I went in with pretty high expectations. I liked the major shit, like the characters being well developed and all having something to do, the action being well choreographed and thought out, and the small shit too, like Ian's funny lines or the water ripple thing. The science behind the dinosaur cloning is also fucking cool. I'm a biology student who finds this kind of stuff particularly interesting. Not that my grades would ever indicate any sort of investment in the field, but whatever. There are also sources that claim the movies had a lasting impact on science, which is where I draw the fucking line. Pretty much every dinosaur depicted is wrong in some way, so I refuse to believe this bullshit. Also, weirdly enough, this movie's only 2 minutes shorter than Fallen Kingdom, including credits, which, accounting for all the VFX artists in the latter entry's name, probably makes them equal in length. That's fucking crazy. Fallen Kingdom felt like it was 3 fucking days long. Probably has something to do with it having 800 different plot lines and not enough sexy Ian. Anyway, these conclusions are pretty fucking pointless because 1, what's the point of a conclusion? Just stop watching. And 2, I already fleshed out everything I said when I said it. So I'm mainly just sitting here needlessly adding to the word count. And there's also the 2 other entries that are going to come after this, so I'll do a proper conclusion at the end of those. I'm glad I'm not making a video about all 3 park films in one, because this script is 10,000 words long, and while I haven't written the others yet, I can already tell this is going to be the movie I have the least to say about. I guess I better get to making them then.